to help us dissect these many stories, with one of them being college basketball. So all of the college basketball conference tournaments are canceled. All right, to quote Ben Stiller in Heavyweights, lunch has been canceled due to lack of hustle. Deal with it. All right. Nicholas Huba, Press of the Atlantic City sports and news editor. Follow him on Twitter at AC Press Huba. We were hanging out with him the other night at Boardwalk Hall when the MAC was still alive and well and in action. So he joins us now on the Boardwalk Honda hotline. Nick, what's going on, man?
I don't know how to feel. I don't know what to say. Like, I think we're at a point in sports and society where, sometimes the best take is no take on something, I don't know what the MAC did was right. I don't know what the NJISA is doing is right. Like, I don't know really how to feel right now.
All right, that's Nick Huba. Thanks for your time. No, dude.
Josh off air, the same thing. Like you want to say the MAC made the right decision in canceling it. You want to say they made the wrong decision on canceling it. Like, go ahead, have at it. But no one really knows. No, I think that's the interesting thing here.
I agree with you. I said that a little bit earlier too. Like, there's no right or wrong here. Who are we to say, to wave our finger at someone like tisk, you should have done this and you should have done that? Like, who are we? I'm not the guy to do that. I know you aren't either.
There's plenty of people out there.
Oh, I know that.
Doing that.
Of course.
And that's the whole thing. Like, there's two things I really, and I'm kind of, I do feel bad for the MAC, because I feel like the MAC did a lot of the things that a lot of other events that have been in the city have not done. Invest in the city, make that place look. And we talked about it a little when I saw you guys over there.
Yeah.
Like, they put in the effort, and the success was going to be Friday and Saturday night. Let's be really honest about that. The semifinals and the finals are the drawing cards of these, like, low major tournaments. And they're not going to have a chance to show that off. And I feel bad for them in a way. And I feel bad for the guys on the court and the women on the court. Like, this is their one shining moment, is the conference tournament, and now that's been taken away from them too.
Yeah, Nick, I was talking with Ryan about this earlier. Last night's final game, it was incredible. The night before, the Niagara game was really, really good ending as well. So, and it felt like, with Monmouth coming to town tonight, it felt like the tournament was building some sort of, attention momentum. Like, people were saying, oh, these are good games. There's real action. Monmouth's coming to town. That's the most local school, really, for the conference down here. And it just feels like the rug has been pulled out from under the city, from under these kids at these schools, from the conference, from all of us who, our job is covering sports. It just feels like the entire world has been put on its head.
This all started last night at 7 o'clock. I think it might have been a little later, but maybe it was 8 or 9 o'clock after the president spoke with the Tom Hanks stuff, and then the Rudy Gobert situation, and it all kind of just escalated crazy after that. And, you have a lot of disappointed people in the area, and I'll tell the story. My son and I were going to go Saturday, and I was going to take him, and he wanted to go, so he wakes up this morning, and I have to tell him we can't go on Saturday night, and he's very disappointed in it. I bet there's really a lot of disappointed people around right now about this whole thing, there's rooms that have been booked. There's an economic impact to this too, and I think we're going to see that as we move through this whole process, kind of what the overall impact was to the city and to the area.
Nick, what's the and Nicholas Huba is with us, Press of Atlantic City. Follow him on Twitter at AC Press Huba. I don't expect you to have an answer for this, but I'm going to ask it anyway.
Thanks.
Well, yeah, no problem, man. I'm trying to make you look as bad as possible here. That's the number one goal. No, this is.
I appreciate that.
Listen, this is a really tough thing to work through, as we just said a few minutes ago. But what's the story here? Like, you're a writer. You've been with the press for a long time. What is the story for you? Because there's a lot of ways to look at all of this.
I think one of the stories is, you have, I think the story is more the high school story that's going on here. One of the things, Mike McGarry is going to go out to the Ocean City game, the state semifinal in Deptford, behind closed doors. None of those kids have ever played in that situation, especially in a game that large where you have potentially a trophy at the end of the next game. Like, you're asking these kids to get up for this game and play this game in kind of this, vacuum. Like, how do you get up for a game like that? How do you play like that? What is the NJI, what is the state going to do about the future of this basketball tournament? I feel bad, and I said this, I said this a little earlier, maybe, or told Josh off the air. I feel the real story is like the kids from South Brunswick in a way.
Yeah.
They might have had nothing to do with it, and yet they're kind of being vilified in a way. And did they make the right decision by pulling the team out of the tournament? Probably in the long run to create like an issue moving forward with them. I think that's where like kind of the stories are the people impacted on this. What's going on at the grassroots level with these kids?
Yeah, I think. From maybe the average person, I don't know what that means, but just the average person from a distance looking at all this, the story is the NBA's canceled. We can't watch the Sixers, right? We can't go to a Flyers game. We can't, watch spring training, like this and that. But it's the domino effect of, and Mark Cuban talked about this, like the concession stand workers, right? The amateur level, the kids, as you mentioned, the families, like everything that. The debris that hits and how far the debris really goes, I guess, from this coronavirus explosion, so to speak. Its branches are, I think, much longer than people realize. And I think the interesting point is, all right, it's canceled, meaning college basketball tournaments right now. But the NCAA tournament right now is not.
It's not. But in theory, it almost is in a way because Duke is suspending like athletic activities. You know what I mean? Kansas has also announced that you can't have a tournament without those two. Like, could you move ahead with it? Yeah,
probably not.
Really, like probably not. Like, you don't want to put those two out, but in a way, they've made the NCAA have a really easier decision. Like, and I think that's. Kudos to them for pulling the plug for the plug was pulled under them in a way. The rug was pulled under them. But it's really funny. Like as you were talking to me, we talked about the spread of and how far this reaches.
Yeah.
My wife just texted me and said, like, I live in Mays Landing. Like Mays Landing Athletic Association is stopping all activities, recreational activities. So, like, we talk about the scope of it. We're doing my son's 10.
Right.
Now I have to go home and talk to him about like the concept of your thing was. You're put on hold right now because of this virus, and that's a hard conversation we all have to have with like our kids or people we're close to. Like, what is kind of going on here,
Yeah, absolutely. And I think not scary, but one of the many things that's unknown is it doesn't feel like there's a plan. And I'm not, once again, waving my finger at anyone, but that's the question, I guess, in your mind or what your opinion. What's the plan moving forward for the MAC? For Mays Landing Rec, for everyone that's been impacted, it just feels like everyone's like, well, should we cancel? Should we not cancel? What should we do here? Man, we really don't want to this and that. All right, it's canceled. But there's no plan after that.
No, we don't have any idea. Like the MAC, I'm assuming the MAC just ends the season and college basketball just ends. Like I don't understand with the semester situation how you can even keep going with it. You know what I mean? With the state basketball playoffs, like. They don't have a plan after tonight, it sounds like, and they're going to try to piece it together. I feel bad for like Wildwood Catholic. They won they finally got over this hump, and they're on pace to be one of the best teams ever in this area. We talked about how great they were all year, and if they beat Roselle in a state final, they're up there on the Mount Rushmore of local Cal teams. They really are, and now they're not going to have that opportunity, or we don't know if they're going to have their opportunity because we don't know what the situation is and the state doesn't either, which is concerning. They wanted to try to use Phillipsburg over the weekend, but they can't because they said no. So I just don't know what the end game is here. Do we all, like, in 2 weeks go pull on TVs on again and go, oh, look, sports is back? Right. I don't know if it's that easy.
Nick, I think one of the things that has frustrated people, and I'm just going to flip this into your court to respond to this, 'cause I responded to this earlier, is that, we mentioned the kids earlier, the Wildwood Catholic kids, the kids for the MAC tournament. The fact that these opportunities are not going to be there for these kids to keep their seasons going, but it feels like the people who are supposed to be the adults in the room, the people who are running the NJSIA and the people who are running the MAC and the NCAA and the quote unquote adults in the room, it feels like that they possibly mismanaged this as well. Is that fair?
I wouldn't say that. I said there's no I think one of you guys said, or someone has said, there's no handbook to this. We can all sit in our room and go, oh, we want to do this, this, and this. I think, first of all, you got to figure out how to stop everything going on, and then that's to put a stop to everything. But we don't know how long we're going to be in this condition. We don't know how long this is going to go on. This could go on 2 months. We don't know. And then 2 months later, we have a plan to launch the NCAA tournament. Okay, does that make a lot of sense?
No.
But does
I'm
any of
asking
this
you
make
guys, like,
sense?
well, that's the whole thing. No one knows no one honestly, we're not prepared for this, sporting wise, cultural, we can have that debate anyway, but I just think we're not prepared as a sporting nation to kind of deal with this. You know what I mean? Like, what's next? Do we just kind of do we pick sports up in the fall with football? And that's what it kind of looks like. What does baseball look like this summer?
It looks like there's not going to be much of it.
I'm not even gonna have a chance to go to my son's games. It looks like right now. like
no, you're not.
Like, and that's what's the frustrating point. We're looking at everything like in the moment, but what do we look at beyond this moment? And how does this change? And I'm not going to throw this out there. How does this change us long term when it comes to sporting events? Like generations from now, does something from this situation end up changing the way we go to games and the way we act at games and the way we take in sports? Do we not go to games anymore? I don't know what the long term effects are of this.
Do you feel like, Nick, that as information comes out, like, we get more educated, like the World Health Organization came out and said that, apparently it's easier to transmit the flu than the coronavirus. So for whatever that's worth, we have that information. We found out today that, dogs can't get this. Okay, we have that information. The fact that we know that in South Korea, the cases have been going down tremendously because their whole solution has been they went in the 2-week quarantine. They just tested the whole country, and all of a sudden they have it contained, basically. So, does it feel like the more information we get about this, we'll all get through this?
Well, we're all going to get through this. Like, I don't think this is the apocalyptic moment. Like, I do think it's scary for a nation who really hasn't seen something like this in
ever
generations. Generations. You maybe go back to something in the 30s or 40s or 20s or whatever. But this is like, we've never seen this, and we're really working on kind of, there is no handbook, and how do we operate from here? And what does this change us long term? Do you guys think it changes us long term? I
think one specific thing changes. There's going to be some sort of like rule or something instituted that's going to have to do with security, whether it's the fans, the players, or everybody involved. I think there will be some sort of new health testing rule or something.
Okay, I could see that. Like
I don't know what that does either, though.
Well,
and I'm not saying you're wrong.
The reason I say that is because 9/11 they changed everything about how you go to a game, how you travel. It changed forever.
Yeah,
Our
but
lives
that
were
was
completely changed.
Yeah,
our lives are going to completely change on some level medically because of this.
Mm.
That's interesting, but how does that translate to sports? Like,
right.
And that's kind of the lane we're in right now. How does that translate? Do we not let people in who are coughing into stadiums? Like, I don't know where the line is. I'm being honest.
No, I know.
Where is that line? Like, do you want to basically go to a model where everybody's playing behind closed doors and we just take it in as an entertainment thing on our television?
No, can't do that. And that won't happen. I mean, I get you're just throwing ideas out there. I get it, but it's like.
But why can't it though? And I'm not trying to be like combative about this.
No,
but, like,
please, yeah.
Let's be honest. Attendance is already down.
Right.
Correct, at a lot of these things. The value to the leagues is not in the attendance number; it's into the TV contracts.
Yeah, no, that's the money making is in TV for sure.
But then at the same time, the people are pulling the cord. There's less and less people subscribe to cable and dish than they were before, even just a couple of years ago.
That's true, but the networks are still, backing up the Brinks trucks for TV coverage rights to these sports leagues. So as long as that's still taking place, yeah, listen, maybe in 10, 20, 30 years, that model changes. But I think for right now, that's where the money is. But at the same point, there's still the fundamental base of sports. Seriously, though, in that going to games, and you are going to take your son to the game on Saturday, and he's going to eventually take his son to a game on a Saturday. And I Philadelphia, the Wells Fargo Center has sold out like 150 straight Sixers games, and the Flyers game was sold out the other day, even with all this. So I don't think that extreme is coming in the near future, but who knows?
Who knows? And you look at it and this is the only reason I'm saying it. You look at a product like, and I'm going to go across the pond, the Premier League. One of the biggest contracts they have is not with Sky's a huge contract over there. The next biggest one might be ours. We don't even get close enough to even go to games. So I wonder, what we're looking at in the future regarding people wanting to be in groups, big groups of people in stadiums and things like that. I know that's like a doomsday scenario, what I painted, but do we really know what the future looks like?
No, we don't. I mean, could you have predicted this even a month ago, that everything in the sports world is going to be shut down over a flu-like virus?
No.
Yeah. So,
no. And that's the whole thing. Like we look at everything and are basically like, now what happens? Like, if yesterday didn't happen the way it did, would today happen the way it did? If we didn't have the NBA move like that, did we need someone like the NBA to move first to kind of go to get the dominoes to fall in line?
To get people's attention.
that was definitely the first domino.
And the domino was only because of what happened with Rudy Gobert. Do we believe that domino wouldn't have fallen without Rudy Gobert?
Maybe not. We don't. We may never know, but I think that it's important that it did happen.
I think it is important it did happen, but my point was, were we headed toward no, like, stands, empty stands, that kind of thing for a while here, unless that happened. That's kind of like, we needed something to kind of snap us out of this, like looking at it as a problem in Asia and things like that, in Europe, correct? We needed something to hit us in the face. And last night, Tom Hanks hit us in the face, and then a couple minutes later, Rudy Gobert hit us in the face, right. And then 5 minutes later, the NBA hit us in the face, and that's where we are today.
Yeah, if Rudy Gobert doesn't mock the disease at the podium, maybe this never happens. Karma, I think, is real right now, at the very least. So, Nick Cuba joining us for the past 15, 20 minutes or so on this segment, just discussing the aftermath of everything going on. Follow him on Twitter at ACPressCuba. I want one more to ask you here before we let you go. Sorry, man. So here we go. No, just what is your thoughts now on the impact, if any, specifically negatively, on Atlantic City and the Boardwalk Hall venue with future events coming here?
I think it's a luck issue with Boardwalk Hall. If the joke is if Atlantic City didn't have bad luck, it wouldn't have any luck at all sometimes. And this is just that thing. You know what I mean? Like, this could have happened in Albany. Or Buffalo, where it's been in the past. This is just the timing thing, and they wanted so hard, and I have a feeling, to continue this tournament in Boardwalk Hall, and they wanted to put a really good face on it. And, peer pressure becomes a huge thing, and you want to do what's right. I think there's so many unknowns. The right thing to do is say, like, hey, we'll see you next year. And I think it'll be, I still was so impressed, and I saw you guys on Tuesday night about this. I was so impressed with the setup and what they did. They went all in on Atlantic City in a lot of ways. And this is just bad timing for them. Maybe next year, they'll get the full thing and we'll have the MAC tournament that we wanted this year.
I agree. And, we all love that venue. Josh and I were walking around Boardwalk Hall last night and just like, this place is beautiful and it's historic and we all know everything behind it. And we love having sporting events come to Atlantic City, especially at Boardwalk Hall. Nick, I appreciate your time, man. I don't know if I'm going to see you anytime soon because there's no sporting events, but we're going to
probably we're all going to go cocoon ourselves off. But one last thing before I get off there, this is how much kind of back and forth there is. Camden was supposed to be Manasquan tonight in a state semifinal, Group 2, boys side. We heard earlier it was on. Now it's been called off. We're hearing and I think this is part of the problem. There's no direct message sometimes coming down from the higher ups, and I think that's a concern to a lot of people.
That's exactly it, and that's one of the bigger takeaways among many. Follow him on Twitter, AC Press Cuba, sports news editor for the Press of Atlantic City. We always enjoy having him on. Nick, take care, man. Thank you.